So this is the Juvenile Fillies turf. It's a grade one. It's run at a mile on Friday, November 1st. And this is usually another one that's a pretty good race. You see, we've got quite a few potential imports from Canada and the UK and Ireland. Uh, we've got Mayday Ready, who's undefeated so far and just won the Jessamine. And of course, the Europeans can never be underestimated. In particular, Heaven's Gate is a horse I've had my eye on. I really liked it. Royal Ascot. January is another one for Aidan O'Brien. So it'll be a pretty heavy laden field, and we'll certainly want to pay attention to the Europeans, whoever comes over. First one we're going to look at is Mayday Ready, and this one's by Tappet. Joseph Lee, a trainer that I haven't seen too terribly much, but you do get Frankie Dettori in the irons, and this horse is undefeated following a win in the Jessamine Stakes. Next is Totally Justified, and of course, Justifies on the turf you just cannot underestimate. He's just become a dynamite sire, particularly on the turf. Galileo underneath, 2 turns all day for this one. Rusty Arnold trains, Manny Franco in the irons, and Totally Justified finished second in the Jessamine and also won the P.G. Johnson at Saratoga. And then Destino d'Oro is another we'll look at, trained by Brad Cox with Flavian Pratt in the irons. Certainly can't overlook. Finished third in the Jessamine. So let's take a look at that stakes race. So here's the Jessamine from Keeneland, and just so we know where our horses are, Destino d'Oro is in the 6 hole, Mayday Ready is in the 8 hole, and Totally Justified is in the 9 hole.
And they are off in the Jessamine, presented by Keeneland Sales, and She's a Funky Drummer goes right out for the lead.
On
She's a
Mayday
Funky
Ready.
Drummer goes right to the front. Miss Linnell has some early speed, moves up along with Totally Justified, and dives over toward the rail in third, now to challenge the leader as they head for the first turn. Sashay Away is in fourth. Micaiah between horses fifth. Give Life
Totally
moves up 2 spots on the far outside from
Mayday
sixth,
as
Miss Linnell now settles back from in between horses as they move midway on the first turn. Italian Soiree stays 3 lanes off the rail in the 7th position as they enter the backstretch. Mayday Ready down to the inside is in 8th. Destino d'Oro 9th up on the outside, running nearly 10 lengths off the early lead, moves up 1 spot around Something About Her, who is now next to last.
Pretty good.
And Ballerina d'Oro is the trailer. Opening quarter went in 23.06 seconds. Midpoint of the backstretch, She's a Funky Drummer is the leader by 3/4 of a length. Give Life is second on the outside, 3/4 of a length. Totally Justified has now settled down to the inside in third. Miss Linnell fourth on the outside. Micaiah back toward the inside fifth. 48.41 seconds the time for the first half mile. Italian Soiree is going to be wide from the middle of the pack around the far turn and is still 6 lengths off the lead. Mayday Ready has 7 lengths to make up, and Sashay Away is 8 lengths off the lead. Coming to the top of the stretch, She's a Funky Drummer, leads it. Totally Justified, tries to find running room from second. Give Life is third up on the outside as they turn for home. Miss Linnell is in fourth, and here's Totally Justified for the lead. Totally Justified coming forward. Micaiah is running late behind her. Sashay Away toward the rail. Mayday Ready's coming. Mayday Ready comes on the outside. Destino d'Oro running late. Mayday Ready, Destino d'Oro, Totally Justified to the inside. These 3 coming down to the wire.
Tight
And
finish.
bobbing photo,
So
a
that's certainly a
3-way
race we
photo
want
for
to
the
pay
win in the
attention to,
Jessamine,
without a doubt. That was a
presented
good
by
one.
Keeneland Sales.
Next couple we're going to take a look at are those that ran in the Miss Grillo Stakes over at Belmont at Aqueduct. And this is always a pretty good prep for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. First is Scythian, and you see he's trained by Bill Mott, so of course on Breeders' Cup Day have to pay attention to. This one has 3 starts, 2 out of 3 wins, and all 3 in the money. So certainly one we want to pay attention to. Next is Coretto by English Channel. Great turf sire with Kitten's Joy underneath, so that's all grass for Calumet Farm. Graham Motion trains, and this one's never been out of the money in 2 starts and finished third in the Miss Grillo. So let's take a look at that one. So here's the Miss Grillo, and for our edification, Scythian is in the 8 hole and Coretto is in the 11.
Goes in.
Full field, gotta like that.
All set for the Miss Grillo. And
Both got away fine.
speed from Grace and
Scythian a little more keen. Be up near the leaders. Coretto stalking mid-pack.
Marvelous Madison. Marvelous Madison takes command. It's Marvelous Madison who will cross over. Outside stall. Now gets over towards the rail. He's going to take him into that first turn. It's Marvelous Madison. Manny Franco in control here. Racing Grit is now running off the rail. Tips towards the outside.
Took the turn a little wide, Coretto did.
Who's right there, a stalking third. At the rail and behind them.
But they're 2-year-olds. We've got to remember that.
Towards the outside is Coretto, who's now taken fifth. Back there in sixth is She's Got Wilt. Then coming in seventh, there is Daisy Flyer. There in eighth is Annie Goodbody. Behind Annie Goodbody at the rail comes Shifty.
Pretty reasonable pace. It's New York, so the front end is usually where things happen. You see they're immediately trying to slow it down, 48-3.
Marvelous Madison is in front.
We're used to that in New York.
Is up by a clear length. Race and Grit is right there stalking, moves in closer, patiently ridden at the rail is Scythian, just progressing on her own. Scythian towards the inside of Lavender Disaster, they're third and fourth.
Starting to quicken a bit.
From the back there, She's Got Will. Coretto is trying to launch a rally as they're well into the far turn now.
Scythian's going to have to find a way out, but look at that. Oh my God, blew the turn completely. And there it is, wide open for Scythian. Couldn't ask for a better right there.
Bolted at that turn, and they have reached the top of the lane, and Scythian has now taken the lead. It's Scythian who starts to sprint
Drawing
away.
off with
Here in the
authority.
clear is Virgin Colada in full pursuit, also trying to run on Coretto and Rare Art.
Coretto looks
but it's
completely
Scythian
tapped
who's in
out,
front.
just gets nipped
Scythian
at the
and Juvenile
wire for
Colorado, they will win the
lose
Miss
second.
and punch their ticket to the
But
Breakers.
Scythian looks pretty damn good there. Note that time is significantly faster than the Jessamine. That's by almost 2 seconds.
And Rare Art in 1 minute 42 and 3.
Now we're going to look at a couple of West Coast horses. Thought Process is the first, and you see he's trained by Phil D'Amato, the turf trainer on the West Coast, and Little Red Feather Racing, who's always prominent in California racing. Hector Barrios, who's become a pretty good turf rider. I wasn't that keen on him last year, but he certainly improved this year, I think. And then Tigerish, by Rockingham Ranch, owned by them. Another group that's pretty prominent. Richard Baltus, the trainer, and Juan Hernandez, best jockey in California. See, this one has been 2 out of 3 in the money and finished third in the Surfer Girl. So let's have a look at that one. So here's the Surfer Girl, and Thought Process is in the 5-hole, and Tigerish is in the 3-hole.
Tequila and Therapy is the last one to load for the Surfer Girl Stakes. They're in the gate. And they're off.
See, pretty good beginning.
Thought Process is very nice out of the gate. Kasalu comes
Tigerish
through to
is,
match strides.
been safe
These
from
two will
drowning
go
the
stride
rail.
for stride by the wire
Covered
the
up a
first
bit.
time. Tequila and Therapy is outside of Tigerish. C'est La Vie Charlie is second to last. And slow starting Jack's Magic Girl is the early trailer. Coming to the 6 furlong pole, and the favorite Thought Process could not get an easier lead. Has it by 2 lengths. Tequila and Therapy now shades Kasalu moving into the second spot, followed by Tigerish, C'est La Vie Charlie
Thought
right
Process
together.
just doing what a
3
good horse
lengths
should.
back
Go
to
right to the
Jack's
lead. Have your
Magic
favorite
Girl.
you can see there.
Thought Process and Hector Barrios in charge down the backstretch. They're in front by a length. Now it's a length and a half to Tequila and Therapy in second. Then Kasalu hugging the rail third past a half-mile pole. C'est La Vie Charlie, Tigerish, Jack's Magic Girl, no change in the running order. They still have to catch Thought Process, the prohibitive favorite, just bounding along under a strong hold as well. Tequila and Therapy pushed along in second. Kasalu at the rail. C'est La Vie Charlie in the blue colors.
Anyway.
Behind them, Tigerish looking for
Tigerish
racing
looking
room.
as
And Jack's
found a
Magic
spot
Girl
on the
far
rail.
back, top of the stretch. And Thought Process has opened up a 4-length lead. Kasalu in second.
much the best.
Center of the course, C'est La Vie Charlie. Tigerish at the rail. But they had no chance. Thought Process in another league. Thought Process wrapped up
Geared down
throughout,
at the
scores
finish
by
there,
6,
so
and it
pretty
could have
darn
been
good for a mile.
much more. Kasalu was second, Tigerish third in the Surfer Girl.
And speed favoring at Del Mar, so something we want to keep in mind. Now we'll look at a couple of Canadian imports potentially from Mark Cassey. He trains them both. The first is Vixen by Vekoma, who's just been an unbelievable first crop sire. And Noble Mission underneath, so there's plenty of Plenty of turf there with Candy Ride as well, world record holder in the mile on the turf. Johnny V in the irons, so this one probably one we want to, if it comes over, might surprise. It was an interesting race in the Telm. I think Mark Casse had 7 horses in that race, and I think he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I'm not mistaken. So Vixen got second in that. Also, we have Nitrogen, who's by Medaglia d'Oro with the Uncle Mo underneath, another one from Mark Casse, and Sahin Savachi in the irons. And for those of you who play Woodbine, he's a pretty damn good jockey. This one is still a maiden, yet to win, but did get a third in the Natalma. So we'll take a look at that one now. So here's the Natalma Stakes, and Nitrogen is in the 3-hole, and Vixen is in the 11-hole.
The Johnny Walker Natalma Stakes, and Mountain
See
Breeze
away,
popped out the
Vixen
gate,
taken back there.
Going to the front is Vixen
and Nitrogen
with,
pretty
and
keen
one more
out to
time,
the
and
lead.
Handy Nitrogen on their inside. They're the top trio. Right behind them, Arctic Velocity. Mountain Breeze handy on the outside. Closer to the hedge, Italian Soiree improving into 4th spot. Tracked along by Anna's Call. And in the early stages, getting back is Will Rain. And over on the inside, back to second last position, ready to battle.
I'm mistaken. Actually, Vixen's in 3rd, so I got confused with the 12. Sorry about that. So Vixen, you see,
from and one more time, a length away 3rd.
couple
Vixen
off,
from Italian
good
Soiree.
stalking position.
Andy Anna's Call on the inside. Arctic Velocities over on the outer, and then a wall of them ready for Candy. Creeping up the rail is ready for battle, just ahead of Will Rain. Getting back now,
pretty
Mountain
good
Breeze
pace.
got back to second last.
23
and a length
and 1.
away last of all is Thread. It hasn't been too fast a tempo here, and Nitrogen out in front by 3/4 of a length to and one more time. Racing in 3rd, Vixen improving quickly, coming after them at the 3/8 as they start to sprint. A length away, Italian Soiree, the outside of Anna's Call.
2,
running
so
home, ready for
quick.
battle. Will Rain, and now Mountain Breeze coming around the outside, about 5 off the leader. At the top of the stretch, and out in front is Nitrogen, tackled by and one more time. Vixen.
And you got to wonder, I don't know about this field, but I mean, you get a horse setting those kind of fractions and still up on the lead. Nitrogen fighting hard, but here comes Vixen.
Outside in the center, and one more time the Mark Casse trio, and then Anna's Call and Italian Soiree.
You see all 3 Mark Casse. One more time splits the wickets.
One more time in the center, and one more time,
Just
and
got
one
up.
more time gets it. Wins the Natalma by a long neck. Vixen second, Nitrogen third.
Pretty quick fractions, and geez, they ran it like a sprint. Now we're going to look at a couple of Euros who ran in the May Hill Stakes at Doncaster, I believe. And the first is January. He's by Kingman, a great sire overseas, and Fastnet Rock underneath. And you may remember I've mentioned it before, but Fastnet Rock was the broodmare sire to Just Steel, who was on the Derby Trail. Magna Tabor Smith, powerhouse group in Europe. Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore. I mean, what can you say? This one's never been out of the money, and should be one that should be prominent if he comes over. And then we'll look at Enshota. And the first thing, if you look at the picture on the right, boy, that's a small horse. I mean, it just the jockey seems to be dominating Enshota. It's just a little 2-year-old. Inns of Court and Unfowain, 2 sires I'm not overly familiar with, I'll be honest. This one's owned by Team Valor, who is American-owned, and they had Animal Kingdom, you might remember, the 2011 Derby winner. This one's been 3 out of 4 in the money, and tried to lead them all the way in the Mayhill Stakes, and so we'll take a look at that now. So here's the Mayhill, and I'm going to stop it real quick so you can get a feel for where the horses are. Enshota is on the rail in the 1-hole with the Team Valor green and red silks with the red V. And then you have January in the 5-hole, and he's in the Magna Tabor alternate of blue and white, or purple and white rather.
They're off. Just
so you see they're away pretty well, and Enshota right to the front. And you can really get a feel for how small Enshota is in comparison to the rest of them.
Well, the green and red towards the right. On the left-hand side, serving with style. The red with the striped sleeves is
and
prominent.
You see January to the left there.
They're followed by the purple and white of
Draft
January,
them a
and
little
towards the
bit.
far side, the pale jacket.
Desert Flower is in the blue there, and she was the favorite in this race, and you'll see why.
Static sitting back in the blue and orange. The star jacket of Elsie's Ruin towards the back, and the colour change Manila Thriller is last of all in the white with the black stripe.
January maybe could have been a little more forwardly placed there, but I'm certainly not going to disagree with anything Ryan Moore does.
Joined by Serving with Style, only about a neck between them. A length and a half back to Flight, racing behind them in third position, followed by Miss Tonnerre.
It's a straightaway, but we're not going to worry about that because, as we know, these horses usually, when they come over, they can handle turns without an issue.
As the pace quickens back past the halfway point inside the three, in fact, and up front, and Shota is still there by a half length to Serving with Style.
I see when things started to quicken and Shota just sort of got inhaled by the field. But January's right off a Desert Flower.
The far side, January coming into contention towards the near side. All to play for here. It's Flight.
Kept going well, just wasn't a match for Desert Flower. And again, was a little, a little further back. Maybe could have been a little more forwardly placed. Might have helped the cause a little, but still a pretty strong finish. And Desert Flower is considered to be a potential favorite for the Guineas, 1,000 Guineas. So I'd say that's a very solid effort by January, and Shota not so much. A couple of more Euro potential imports. First is Heaven's Gate. This one is, again, another one, Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore, Tabor Magnier. And this one I saw at Ascot and ran a really strong, I believe it was in the Coventry Stakes, and was beaten out by the stablemate Fairy Godmother, who's very well thought of. This one probably is more of a sprinter, but 7 furlongs, the Weld Park Stakes, which we're going to look at, and you see 6 out of 7 starts. This one had a nice turn of foot, and earlier on in the Coventry, and then this race was took back a little bit more, so showed a little bit of versatility and maybe a bit of a sleeper. And then Fiery Lucy is another one you see without parole by Frankel and Dubawi underneath, so pretty damn good connections, pretty good pedigree there. This one is 4 seconds is a little troubling, but you do see 5 out of 6 in the money finishes. And had a good Weld Park Stakes. Finished a pretty good second to Heaven's Gate. So let's have a look at that. So here's the Weld Park Stakes. And I'll point them out as we go here. You've got Heaven's Gate in the Tabor orange and blue silks. And then
Stella.
The Fiery Lucy is in the blue and white with stars. And this should be pretty apparent here.
Eggs are raised.
You see another straightaway. You see that's Heaven's Gate in the 9-hole. And Fiery Lucy right next to her in the 10.
2 and Sotobed and non-runner. It's Mojave River who leads Bar Nevada. The pair wide apart, followed by Medley, Greatest Drama. Then the grey Alice Stella, not far behind the leaders is Heaven's Gate.
Was a little,
signed the
was
more
keen
Fiery
to get
Lucy,
a little closer
California
than she did,
Dream
but
at the
really
back
just
3.
couldn't
5
find any
furlongs to go
racing
is
room,
Mojave River by a half
you see them
length to Bar
staying in the middle
Nevada.
of the track.
Little more than a length back to Alice Stella. Was followed by Medley and Heaven's Gate, after the stable companions, Greatest Drama, Simon Moore, Fiery Lucy and California Dream. A little changes, continuing towards the halfway stage of the Weld Park Stakes. And there's Mojave River leading Natalie from Bar Nevada. Alice Stella, the English runner, is fairly close in third, and Medley, Heaven's Gate, Greatest Drama. Nudged along California Dreamer is 2 behind Simon Moore and Fiery Lucy, but they're pretty well stacked up, coming down towards the final 2 furlongs. And on the left, beginning around is Greatest Drama, goes to the front from Mojave River, getting around through is Heaven's Gate, and stable companion Medley and Bar Nevada, not out of it on the outside. No racing room for Fiery Lucy. They race to the final furlong, and Heaven's Gate leads now from Fiery Lucy, Bar Nevada, Greatest Drama. Medley is next. After them is a fading Mojave River, but driven out is Heaven's Gate, with coming over on the far side in the blue jacket, Fiery Lucy.
You see those 4 seconds and you just wonder if maybe there's a little second-itis there. I don't know.
Close with the third,
But
California
pretty good
Dreamer
effort
and Bar
from both.
Nevada as Heaven's Gate continues the one-way flow of Ryan Moore.
Going to look at a couple that ran in the untappable stakes at Kentucky Downs, and of course, Kentucky Downs is a unique track, so whether or not that will transfer to a very different track in Del Mar, we'll see. But the first we'll look at is Kilwin by Twirling Candy. and Rusty Arnold trains, and 2 for 2 so far, and really nice purse in the Untappable. So 630 grand already for this 2-year-old in just 2 starts. Second one we'll look at is Abiento by Not This Time, great sire. Tracy Farmer, who owns, who's you may remember has had quite a few in the past. Commentator comes to mind more most readily. Dylan Davis in the irons and Mark Cassie. This one also won the Matron Stakes and got a pretty good third at Kentucky Downs. So we're going to take a look at the Untappable. So in the Untappable, Kilwin is in the 8-hole and Abiento is in the 9-hole. So they're right next to each other. And this is 6.5 furlongs. But
they're off
Kentucky
in the Untappable.
More
Ultima
like
Grace is sent down to there with some early speed.
Could be
On the inside is She's All Charm. And now rushing through in between horses is Ultima Grace to battle for the front as they race down the hill, joined by Give Life, and now Give Life is now challenged on the outside by She's a Funky Drummer, who goes up and grabs the lead. Savetta's now up running in third position. On the outside, Vigidal goes up in fourth. On the rail, Ultima Grace is fifth. Cotillard, sixth on the outside. Abiento is circling the field, then Unchained Elaine, followed by She's All Grace, a break of another 3 lengths more, back to Kilwin, who is near the back of the pack as they come toward the top of the stretch. The trailers here are Winfinity, and they're turning for home here after a 22.1 quarter, a 45.4 half mile, and the field now arriving into the final quarter of a mile. She's a Funky Drummer has taken the lead. Savetta to the outside is on the attack in second. She's All Charm is moving up. Abiento is coming too. Splitting horses is Give Life, and on the far outside, Kilwin is finishing with a bold rush as well down the center of the course. Here's the wire. Kilwin! Kilwin ran them all down. She's a Funky Drummer was second. Abiento and Savetta.
Super Speed is another one from the West Coast, trained by John Sadler with Juan Hernandez in the irons. And again, because Juan Hernandez has a couple in here, we'll see which one he chooses. This one's by Justify, so have to take seriously on the turf. Has been in the money 2 out of 2 times. And Thought Process won the Del Mar Juvenile Fillies turf, so we'll see her as well. So in Del Mar Juvenile Fillies, we have Thought Process in the 2-hole and Super Speed in the 7-hole.
And away they go.
So pretty clean.
Slow to begin was Fonda's Dream. Fonda's Dream lost a few lengths.
Thought Process.
Cassalou very fast into side, sprints to the early lead. Thought Process down at the rail. Global Consort in the red, and then comes Super Speed. Hey Little Lady in the purple right there. Sea Runner is caught wide, but running all the way up to third. Caitlin Fever is in the pink colours behind that. Madonna of Laredo scrapes paint a good 8-9 lengths off these leaders. Then we come back to Twirling Light and Fonda's Dream as last. On to the backstretch they go. Cassalou has ensured a good pace. Goes on to lead it just over a length. Global Consort second. Thought Process travelling nicely in third. Just a length and a half off the leader. On the far side is Sea Runner. Between runners, Hey Little Lady. At the rails, Super Speed in the white. Then comes Caitlin Fever in the pink colours. Apocalyptic is now 9 off the leaders. Then comes Twirling Light, Madonna of Laredo, and last of all, Fonda's Dream. Into the turn they go, and Cassalou still the leader, but now Thought Process hooks out, and Thought Process looms ominously alongside of Cassalou. Cassalou's not done, fighting right back. Thought Process up alongside. It's 3 back to Super Speed, battling on gamely in third. They're at the top of the lane, and Thought Process now strikes the front. Thought Process going well as they pass the 8th pole, and Thought Process out here moving like a winner. Thought Process will win the Del Mar Juvenile Fillies turf majestically. Second was Super Speed. Running on late for third, Sea Runner.
Last one we'll look at is an Irish import, Chantez. He's by Wooten Bassett, who was made a big splash last year. I believe he was a freshman sire. Did very well over in England. And this one ran in the Ingabel Stakes. I believe it was on Irish Champion Day at Leopardstown. So let's have a look at that race. So you can see that Chantez is the number 3 post and 7 on the race card. And as you see, they always do it. They have the 2 different numbers.
Coming in is Nancy J. And the lineup will be completed then by the final pair. One that's going to be Garden of Eden. They're going to go a couple of minutes later. And Bobbling going to be the penultimate one to go in. I tell another one up back. And that one is Chantez. That's your favourite. Colin Keane and Jer Lyons. All right then. All set.
Today is due into 7. Nine runners loaded. And that off. And the Ballylynch stud out of GBF Ingerbell Stakes. Listed race for 2-year-old fillies. It's over 7 furlongs. And it is on the inside, Easy Mover and Garden of Eden, the stable companions, followed by Shantae, Unexpected Issues, Mojave River in between horses, followed on Settling Down by Bubbling, and then Indigo Dream, Nancy J and So to Bed with the final couple. It's Easy Mover coming off the back straight, leading by 2 parts of a length to Garden of Eden. Just third is Shantae on the outside of On the Rail is Unexpected Issues, followed by Mojave River, 2 lengths to Bubbling, and then Indigo Dream, followed towards halfway by And So to Bed and Nancy J. Little changes in the order, just shading it, is Easy Mover from Garden of Eden, a length in front of Shantae, and then the red cap or Unexpected Issues in 4th, and Mojave River as they leave the 3 behind, then Indigo Dream. The back 3 are Bubbling, Nancy Jane and So to Bed as they run round the home turn. 2.5 furlongs to go and locked together round the bend are the stable companions Easy Mover and Garden of Eden, being followed by Shantae, who's making ground on the outside to come and tackle the pair, followed then by Bubbling, who's waiting for an out, then Indigo Dream, Mojave River, Nancy Jane, So to Bed, Unexpected Issues. Shantae leads inside the final 200 yards, but it's all over the place from Easy Mover, Bubbling on the inside of Garden of Eden, but it's Shantae in front by more than a length. Shantae, Bubbling, Garden of Eden, Easy Mover, Nancy J next. Shantae wins the 3rd Ingerbell for Colin Keane and Jer Lyons.
So that's the Juvenile Fillies turf, and you see it's all going to be contingent upon what Euros show up. I really like January from what I saw. But Shantae looks pretty good too, although a little green. So we'll just have to see if the Americans can hold up. I think Thought Process looked pretty good to me for one of the West Coast horses, but you can Scythian as well. So it should be a good race. It usually is. I hope this presentation will help you with your own Breeders' Cup preparation. And we'll have more to come for all the races, so be on the lookout for that. And of course, please like and subscribe. It does help us to continue to provide content for you, and we really appreciate those of you who have hopped aboard recently, and those of you who have stayed in our community. So again, thanks for that. That's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.